All right, Kaitlyn, after the technical difficulties, we're back. Thank you for joining me on the Do Big Things podcast. If you don't mind, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
I'm Kaitlyn Yonke. I guess I'm an ultra runner out here in Colorado. Also an endurance coach. I guess that's about the best I can for an introduction.
Cool, perfect. How long have you been running ultras?
Probably about 4 or 5 years.
Okay. What made you start ultras? Why ultras? Why not extreme frisbee or volleyball or something else? Why running?
I've always kind of been running. I started into ultras after running with an organization called MS Run the US. So maybe it's been running ultras longer, but it's a multi-day event. You sign up to raise awareness and funds for multiple sclerosis. And the point of it is to run a marathon a day for a week or longer. So you get like 180 to 270 miles in.
Wow.
And then you on off to the next runner. And so that was like my first toe dip into an ultra. I ran a marathon a day for 7 days, handed it off to the next runner, and kind of decided that that was something that just really, I don't know, it drew me in.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of never looked back from that.
A marathon a day for 7 days.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Very hard. The first time around, I've run the relay twice. The first year was in 2014. It was a few years after my dad was diagnosed with MS. And I guess to put it simply, it was the relay it needed to be. I ended up not being able to run all of my miles because of an injury, but I learned like such a great lesson in it because I needed people to run for me. And like wallowing in that self-pity of like, oh, I can't do every step. I can't run everything on my own. My dad, of all people, who's the one with MS, said, you need a team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one over there who could be the one saying, woe is me. It's all about me. I'm the one people should be looking at. And he's the one saying it takes the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of snapped me out of feeling really sorry for myself. And I had family run for me. I had my crew run for me, and together we got it done. And so I say, you know, that's why it was tough, because it was very mentally draining to try and navigate those waters of trying to admit that the MS monster was in our family.
So your dad was diagnosed before all of this?
Yes.
Okay. So
he was diagnosed when I was in college.
Tell me about how that's affected like your family dynamic. I know a little bit about MS, but educate me, please.
So my dad and I, well, my whole family, we've always been really active people. My dad has just been an avid cyclist his whole life. So it got my brother into cycling. It got me into cycling. And in college, when he said those 4 words, I have multiple sclerosis, I knew that it was going to change his movement. Mm-hmm. The best way to describe MS is like taking your phone cord, your charging cord, and you know, when you've just used that sucker over and over again, and you've got those wires fraying out and everything. So that's kind of what MS does to the coating on your nerves, called myelin. The autoimmune disease that attacks that coating. So sometimes the signal sends, sometimes it doesn't send, sometimes there's no signal at all that goes through. And everybody's MS is different. So my dad's MS is so different from one of my friend's MS. And you never know who has it. It's really a silent disease because they could look fine on the outside, but on the inside, they could be suffering from vision impairment, fatigue, pain, you know, pins and needles, all this other stuff, because all of this stuff is happening to their nervous system. So I knew that there was a high probability that he would lose a lot of his movement. And when, you know, he could sit down and say, hey, I'm going to blame everything on MS. I'm going to just hate my life, hate the world, hate everything, hate my kids, whatever. he decided to take it in stride, and he has been one of the most positive people I know. I don't think he has had a single bad attitude day. He's unrelentlessly positive.
Wow.
And he's in a wheelchair now. And I don't think that I've ever seen somebody so happy to still be able to be like that. And so I think that's been such a driving force for all of us of like, yeah, you could have MS, but look at how happy he is just to be able to watch other people do such wonderful things.
Mm-hmm. Where does his positivity come from? Has he always been that way?
Yeah, he's
Really?
always been just such a happy person.
Okay. Where does it come from with him? I mean, some people are just born happy.
He's just been born this positive person. Like we used to be on bike rides, and like my brother and I'd be struggling to get up a hill, and he'd yell out to the back of us, "Come on, guys, you can do it. We believe in you." Like he just always has this, "I believe you can do this." And it's this belief that you can always do your best. And I don't know where he got it from, whatever spirit it was, maybe, just growing up, he believed that anything is possible. And I think that just carried through with MS of like, we view MS now with his movement as it's his new 100%. So he may not be able to move his legs like he used to, but it's his new 100% of his legs. So he just views things in such a different and positive light, where he could be so angry at it. He's so happy with where he is now. He gets to do these things.
Wow. How debilitating is this for him? Is he able to walk? Does he move around pretty well, or where's he at?
He still gets around. He can walk. Longer treks because of anybody's fatigue with MS. He uses a wheelchair. He can't ride his bike anymore, but he's built himself a pushchair bike so he can push himself.
Oh, cool.
So it's like a push forward bike. So it's been, he's learned to adapt with it, but he still moves around pretty well. Mm-hmm. It's taken some things, but it hasn't taken everything.
Yeah. It's different for everybody though, right?
Oh yeah.
And is this something you're born with, or is this something that you get contract, or is it, do you get this from how does it work? I don't know.
You don't contract MS, but they don't know if it's something that you're predispositioned for.
Okay.
So they don't know if there's no genetic marker for it, but they don't know if it's because of like a vitamin deficiency. They don't know if it's because you live in a certain area. They don't know if it's, all of these factors, but you're never born with MS. So you're not born with it, but there's certain factors of your genetics that might play in part of it, or certain things play into the part of it, but they still don't know how all the way it happens.
Okay.
Because there's a cure for MS. There's no, magic drug or medication that says, hey, here you go, you no longer will have MS.
Okay. But I'm guessing he's taken medication of some sort?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's like an autoimmune disease though, right?
Yes.
Okay. And have you looked into, like, I'm guessing you probably have, like, holistic cures or holistic ways for him to get by and feel less pain? Is there anything that works, or is it just medicine from a doctor that works best?
For everybody, it's different. And I know he's got his systems down. I don't know exactly what he does. He's got his system down daily where he goes. I think for him, it's his management of being able to get out, do a little bit of exercise, relax, and just do the things mentally he likes to do. And that's how he feels good. But I know some people do holistic stuff. Some people take medication. For a lot of people, it just depends on the type of their MS, of what works best for them. And then some people, it really has gotten to the point where it's just so debilitating that a lot can't manage it. It just all depends on what their symptoms are and how severe they are, because MS affects people so differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Does this put you at risk at all?
No.
Not at all. It's not genetic.
I don't know if it puts me not at all, but there is no like genetic marker saying like there's this percentage of a chance.
Okay. Okay. So what's a typical day for him look like?
He gets up, he, like any of us, he makes coffee, he eats breakfast, hangs out with my mom, then he goes into the garage and starts working on building a trike because he likes to build bikes. He's always liked to build things, so he's building his own race trike so that he and I can race one day in the Boston Marathon together.
Oh, wow.
And working on building a race trike. He works on that for as long as he can, and then he kind of done for the day, cleans up, and then hangs out inside, and that's usually his day.
So pretty typical.
Pretty typical day. It hasn't affected a whole lot. He's got a typical normal day.
Okay. But you said you know someone else with MS, and since it looks different for everybody, like how debilitating is it for this other person that you know, your other friend?
For, you know, I've got a whole list. When I ran last week, I had a list of 50 people. And for that list of 50 people, they all have different symptoms. There's a young lady on the list who was diagnosed at the age of 14. There was a lady on the list that died from her complications of MS. We have a friend whose vision is affected anytime he tries to run, and he goes blind when he runs because his optic nerves don't function, and so he needs a guide to run with him. Okay. So it can just affect anything and everything.
Wow. Just all across the board.
It's all across the board.
Wow. Wow. And no cure for it.
No cure.
Wow. So what are you doing to raise awareness? I know part of your FKT was towards, bringing a voice to this, bringing noise in that direction. How are you doing that?
So, like I said earlier, I ran with an organization called MS Run the US, and we found them back in 2014. And when I ran with them, they kind of became not just like a support group, but family for us. And then I ran with them again in 2016. And they're just a great organization that raises funds, they raise awareness, they give back directly to the National MS Society. And as they run across the nation, they bring such a big voice to this cause, and they bring such hope to the people that have MS. I know for my dad, they've brought him a lot of joy and happiness watching these people run for this cause. And this year when the organization had to go virtual, it was just for me, it was such a bummer because I know as a relay runner how great it is to raise your money, run your week. It feels great. It's such a great thing that I decided that I needed to make a little bit of noise myself. And that was to give back to the one cause that I know the money is going to go to people with MS, to a cause that cares, to a cause that was founded because the founder's mother had MS. And that's kind of what I decided to do is, it's a cause that affects our family deeply, but I've seen how it affects so many other people. And so I decided that, regardless if I was going to set the FKT, I was going to try and make, as much noise as possible, that MS needs a cure, and let's do the best that we can.
Yeah, 100%. So the name of this company is MS Run the US?
Yes.
Okay. So this is something we can donate money to. This is something we can raise our own awareness towards.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Cool. And so you've been working with this same company for 5 years now?
Yes. I've been a relay runner for them twice. I've been an ambassador with them and have on and off been a very big supporter and very close friend of the founder. Yeah. Got
it. And what can we do to support this cause? Do they just need money? Do they need more awareness? Like, what do they really need?
You can donate. Okay. Like, that's the biggest thing you can do is you can donate. You can go on to their social media, MS Run the US. You can, watch the relay runners as they come through. They come through Colorado and support the relay runner. There's 2 of them that'll come through Colorado. Run with the relay runner, give them support. That's a huge thing too. But really the biggest thing this cause needs is it needs donations, because that's going to go to funding medications. It's going to go to funding support like wheelchairs, walkers. MS is labeled as $1 million disease because when you're diagnosed over your lifetime, you will have to spend over $1 million to care for living with MS.
Whoa, that's crazy.
So it's a very expensive disease. So it goes towards helping people live with MS.
Wow.
So donations are probably the biggest thing you can do and just support the cause.
Wow. That's crazy. $1 million disease. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Unreal. So what's your story? You live in Morrison. You're married?
Yes.
To Brandon?
Yes. To
Okay.
Brandon Yonke.
I've heard that name. He's a running coach as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're both running coaches.
Yes, we are.
Cool. Okay. Is that your full-time gig?
It is not, actually.
Okay.
My full-time gig is I am a music therapist.
Music therapist. How does that work?
So my primary job, so I work with kids and adults with developmental disabilities. I use music as a therapeutic medium. So I work on cognitive, speech, life skills, coping skills, all those types of daily use skills that kids or adults may need in society through music. So making choices, or when a kid sings a song and they use a big word, we'll use the example because I used the song today, the song Bare Necessities, have the kids sing the word necessities. They're using a different part of their brain than speech. And
Okay.
so the word necessity will come out a little bit easier singing versus saying it. So we work on speech skills through music, or we'll work on sharing, things like that. And that's my full-time job, is to help kids and adults through music.
Nice. So they're mainly singing these songs?
Mm-hmm. They're singing or playing instruments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it like a group setting, or is it one-on-one?
Mainly one-on-one. I have a few group sessions, but most of my sessions are one-on-one.
Cool. Very cool. That's interesting. And you grew up in Colorado. When did, and you said you did a lot of bicycling. When did running come into the picture?
Running came into the picture mainly in college. I was up at CSU in their music school. And if anybody listening went to music school, it's pretty grueling. I was in their performance program for a little bit, and they required at least of us, certain number of practice hours. And so I'd take a break and I'd go running for my little mental break.
Okay.
And it just kind of stuck as a study break to go for runs, and it just kind of stuck from there. And then when my dad could really no longer go on long rides with me, because he'd come up and ride with me on weekends up at Fort Collins, when he could no longer do that on the bike, I started doing long runs instead of rides. And so that just kind of stuck instead. And I appreciated not having a bicycle seat attached to my butt for long periods of time, and chose to have running shoes attached to my feet for long periods of time. And so it just it was a full transition. I still like the bike, but I think I appreciate trail running a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your first, you did the relay, but what was your first race?
My first ultra was Devil on the Divide.
Where's it at? Sounds familiar.
It's out here. It's in Empire.
Okay. How long is it?
It was a 50K.
50K. Okay. And how did that go?
It was interesting. I almost dropped at a remote aid station, and in order to get out of the remote aid station, you had to run to the next aid station, and then to get out of that aid station, you'd have to walk down to the finish. So I kind of was like, well, I should just finish. So I pretty much hiked it out, and I realized that you actually have to eat and drink beyond mile 20. So it was a nice, good life lesson of like, you actually have to continue to eat, and you have to eat more than just like gels. So it was that good, like, first ultra marathon life lesson in there.
We learn as we go, right?
Yeah. Probably also should not have picked a race above 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
It sat above the Alpine for the majority of the race, but highly recommend it. It's beautiful.
Okay. And then you decided to sign up for another one after that Torture Fest.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just hang up your shoes and say, I did one, I'm good to go?
Because my husband was running 100-miler, and I was like, I can run 100, and I can keep stepping up my game.
So he's the bad influence. I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. So do you guys do a lot of training together?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually more or less me chasing him around the mountains because he's substantially faster. So it's me chasing him up and down mountains to try and keep up. But yeah, it's usually together.
Okay, that works. Is he your run coach, or do you have a run coach?
I do have a run coach. He is not my run coach.
Okay. Why? Is there like a dynamic there that just wouldn't work, or how does that happen?
No, it's not that it wouldn't work. I just want to make sure that that wouldn't ruin any dynamic.
Okay, smart. I like it. That's a good plan. Cool. Cool. Okay, and so
I'm too neurotic.
Too neurotic?
Yeah, I would be asking him tons of questions.
Okay.
And I feel like he'd just get annoyed with me. So
I'll
just put a third party in.
Got it. And just pay somebody. Here's some money. Right. I'm going to ask you questions all day. So what kind of questions are you asking your run coach? I'm curious, like, what's your neurosis look like?
It's usually like, can I swap this for this? Or it usually used to be a lot about pace, but now he's working with me to get me like out of the pace mindset, because I used to be attached to paces. But more or less like, can I do this run with this amount of vert? You told me to only run this many miles on this type of terrain. It's usually me trying to bargain with him on, can I go do this instead? Or can I add this many more miles?
Okay.
So it's me like playing the bargaining.
So he'll assign you a 10-mile run and you'll come back to him and say, can I run 20 instead?
Not that many more. He'll have like 16 on it and be like, I want to do an adventure that's 20. Can we compromise? So we try and work the deal.
Okay.
We try.
And how long have you been working with this coach?
A little over a year with this guy.
Okay. And you've been running ultras for like 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You've done quite a few races. It looks like you've done Leadville a couple times. Have you done any other hundreds?
I started Run Rabbit Run, and I dropped at mile 50. I don't know. They said it was mile 45. It was definitely not. But
why'd you drop?
Rabbit, an injury.
Okay.
So
that's my story with Run Rabbit Run too. It's like the only one hanging over my head, had a little bit of a nagging injury, and I still have to go back and make that right.
Make it right one of these days. It's a beautiful race. I made it to Dry Lake on the new course. My hip was really killing me. I could barely lift my quad, and we made the call of like, if I can't even like take a few steps downhill, then it's not even worth it to try and finish the next 55 miles. So
for sure,
I'm pulled, and only one I have yet to finish. So
it's probably the right decision. There's no sense in injuring yourself worse.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You've done Leadville a couple times though, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience out there?
It was my first 100-mile race. And I know a lot of people like will give Leadville a hard time, but I love the atmosphere of Leadville.
Me too.
I love that people come out in droves to support you. I always say that like the Twin Lakes aid station is like Cheers. Like everybody knows your name, whether you know it or not. Like you run through Twin Lakes and you hear your name, but you have no idea who anybody is.
Right.
But it's still one of the most euphoric moments ever. It's true. To like run through Twin Lakes the first time and you just have these hordes of people cheering you on.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of feel like a rock star.
It's amazing. Yeah. And at the same time, it's like you're running through your hometown. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gives you so much energy to go up and over Hope Pass. And maybe I'm a masochist, but Hope Pass is my favorite part of the whole entire race.
Oh yeah, me too.
I love climbing it the second time. It's just, because once you get, for me at least, once you get to the top of Hope Pass the second time, you just have to go home to Leadville. You know, that's all you have to do. You're on the stretch. You can see Leadville from the top. So you got to finish. So it's just one of those races that for me, it's got such a family vibe to it that you can't help but feel like you're going to finish from the first step off the line.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first time you did Leadville, when you made it to Winfield, the halfway point, did you know you were going to finish 100%? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You knew it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you must have had good training leading up to that. Everything must have been clicking. Everything must have gone right. Is that normally how it goes for you, or have you had some missteps along the way?
That race, I knew I was going to finish, and I think it was mainly just because of the crew that I had assembled. I was going from pacer to pacer in my head. I just have to make it to this pacer, and then I just have to make it to this pacer.
Okay.
And, you know, I've had some missteps along the way with other racers, but I think how that one worked so well was that I wasn't thinking about the big picture. I was thinking little pieces at a time. And so, like, if I could make it to my first pacer, I was fine. If I could make it to Twin Lakes to my next pacer, I was in great shape. And if I just kept checking off the people, I was home free.
Were you signed up for races this year?
I was.
Any good ones? Like, what were you signed up for?
I was signed up for the High Lonesome 100.
Okay. Yep.
That was the only one I was really signed up for. I was really looking for that one.
Yeah. I ran that last year. It's a great race. And so was it a rollover to next year?
Yeah. So I'm rolling over for sure.
Yeah. Still going to happen, right?
Still going to happen.
Cool.
I was able to get miles on the course this summer. So.
And you've done a bunch of 50s along the way too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All just par for the course, just like training for the hundreds, just another easy day out there.
And there's nothing, I guess there's nothing special about, I mean, yeah, the Leadville 50 is a fun course, but I guess there's nothing really about repeatedly running that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And still.
For sure. What was your plan to do with High Lonesome this year? Were you going to dedicate that somehow to this MS research, or weren't you thinking that far ahead?
I wasn't thinking that far ahead. My goal with it was to go out and run a really hard mountain race. That was really about it. I really wanted to put a lot of good fitness into it, and then they canceled it pretty early on. So really hadn't thought that far ahead. And I think what the transition to dedicate miles to MS was when Ashley, the founder of MS Run the US, canceled the relay and made it virtual. And it was just really, really hard to watch all the runners have to do their miles either at home or not be able to get all their miles in because maybe some of them were injured and stuff like that. And so it was really just sad to see that they didn't get that opportunity that everyone else in the past has gotten, and they may not get to again. So it's a really, really kind of, it pulled on my heartstrings because I know how much that meant to me to be able to do those miles.
Yeah. How long is this relay?
It runs from coast to coast.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
So they cross the country in the summer.
Wow. And so you were doing the Colorado portion?
I have in the past. I wasn't doing it this year, but I've run in Utah, and then I've run in Colorado as my segments.
Wow. It's pretty awesome. It sounds like fun. So this year people were doing it virtually. And so they were just raising money on their own and just going out and putting in miles whenever and wherever.
Yeah. They had unique ways that they were doing it. They had their own set of days that they were dedicated to do on social media for it. So they had unique ways that they were doing it. And I just wanted to kind of help add to, their cause of bringing awareness back to it. Because I felt like when the relay happens, people are watching their journeys unfold. People are watching to see how day 2 went. People are watching to see how day 4 went. And they weren't out there on the road. And so I wanted to kind of help circle back to them and bring a little bit more to them and to the relay, because I know how much that means to Ashley, especially. That's, such a great cause that she created.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was researching a little bit the White Rim Road, and it looks amazing. It looks awesome.
Hmm.
I'm like, why haven't I done this? This looks amazing.
It
So
is.
when did you first hear of it, and when did this idea start talking to you in the back of your head and saying, I wonder if I can run this faster than any other women?
So my husband and I go to Moab at least once or twice a year. And I don't know, we did one of the loops in Canyonlands National Park. It's got like 3 districts, I think. I don't know. Canyonlands is huge.
It's huge. It's
They've got,
beautiful.
yeah, Needles, and I think one more, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But we've only ever been to Island in the Sky. And we were doing, I think it was a loop called the Murphy Loop. You take Murphy Trail down, then you run on the White Rim, and you come back up. Pretty sweet loop. They're fun because like when you go down all of these trails in the park and go down towards the rim, like looking back up, you can't see where you came down on the trail, which is still pretty epic too. But we got done with the loop. We're hanging out in the lot, and I was like, it would be pretty cool to run on that road. Like, how do you get down there? And my husband's like, you take Schaefer Road, duh. It was like, oh, how long's the road? And we had no idea. And someone's like, oh, it's 70 miles. But to make the loop, it's 100. And then that created the brainchild of like, that'd be fun to run. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of circled back of like, well, how fast has a woman run it before? And we looked that up and we found out that the record was 21, like 53 or 52. And that was like 2 or 3 years ago. And it kept kind of being like this nagging thing of, when are you going to run the White Rim? When are you going to run the White Rim? And so after my race was canceled, Brandon asked me, he's like, when are you going to run the White Rim this year? It's like, I don't know. And then he was going to Nolan's, and he pulled the plug on that for other reasons. And he finally looked at me, he's like, are we doing the White Rim? And I was like, all right, I have to put a date down. Nice. So I put a date, and it was just kind of one of those things of like, all right, the date is on the calendar. Now there's no looking back.
Okay. So had you scouted this whole thing, or do you need to scout it? I mean, it's a road. It's like a 4-wheel drive road, most of it, right?
Yeah, it's a 4-wheel drive road. I mean, for people that are nervous about like what's ahead of them, I'd say scout it. Mm-hmm. I knew the Murphy Hogback, which for like the 4x4 people that like drive the 4x4 cars or bikes, like maybe you'd be nervous, but it's steep, and I don't know. I didn't scout like anything.
Sure. Yeah.
I knew there was a few sandy parts. I knew I was going to be running on slick rock. I knew the climb out of Schaefer was going to be death to my quads. But like, if you're somebody that needs to know what every part's going to feel and look like, I'd say go ahead and scout it. But I kind of wanted to not know what was next.
Okay. Who had set the FKT before you?
Her name was like Jenny Lynn Eaton.
Eaton. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
It was a different line.
Okay. Cool. It sounds amazing. And this is all the way, this circumnavigates the Island in the Sky?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So, and it was really cool to see. And a lot of my pacers pointed it out because like you went down and you could see what was the canyon above you, but you could see like it's canyons and canyons and canyons below, even on that rim. So like, you're not just on the bottom of the canyon, you're just on like a plateau of even more canyons. And so it was really cool to have that experience of getting a different view of Canyonlands as well.
But you weren't out there taking pictures or taking video or anything like that. You were just cruising as fast as you could.
I did not have, the only thing I had on me was my Garmin InReach, and my pacers carried my phone the whole day. So I had no pictures. The only picture evidence I have is of what my pacers took of me.
Yeah. Okay.
That was about it.
So how long ago did you set this date on the calendar?
I want to say August.
Okay.
Is when I said I was going to do it in October. And then like towards the end of August, I was like, okay, October 31st because of the full moon.
Oh, okay. Full moon. And it's a little bit cooler, right? I mean, it's very exposed.
Yeah.
Was it pretty hot while you were out there?
I didn't think it was. My last pacer, Kyle, started to notice it get hot for him. Granted, he was in a long sleeve, but I didn't feel that it was. And maybe that's because I had just been out there all day.
Mm-hmm.
But if, your pacer says I feel warm, then it's warm.
Mm-hmm.
So probably got to like 75.
Okay. So perfect running weather, really.
Perfect running weather. And that was like maybe at 3:00 in the afternoon. The rest of the day was perfect. Like nice breeze. I mean, no shade whatsoever, but
yeah,
I had a nice cross breeze most of the day, and I wasn't being blown over by anything windy and stuff like that.
So when you set this date months and months ahead of time, like, are you worried about the weather? Like when you set a date months out, you're like, okay, I don't know about you, but for me, it's like, you got to put in vacation time. Crew pacers are coming out. They got to put in vacation time. Like, okay, the date's set. This is the weekend. I'm going to do it. And then if you show up and it's raining, do you still go for it?
I was a little worried about some of the weather. I knew, like, I checked trends before setting the date of like what like it usually is. And they said like average between 60 and 70 degrees. And I know I can run in that well. My only thing was, and I had kind of had that set in my head, that if it was going to be like 85 or above as the high of the day, I was just going to pull the plug entirely and set a later date. Since it's a FKT, you can. Just because that's just unsafe for everybody out there running, especially since there's no access to water.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too. There's no water out there. So it's not like, it would be pretty tough to do this self-supported. You got to have people out there that have your back.
Yeah. Okay. So I was thankful that the snowstorm came the weekend before, because it did snow out there.
Okay.
It was nice because it packed down actually a lot of the sand, where people were saying it was a real big sand pit.
Okay.
And that slowed me down. So that had me worried ahead of time, but I didn't encounter like the big sand pits that they were talking about, because it had all been packed down by the snow, which made it easy for the vehicle to get through. So that was good. But I really wasn't too worried about the weather, because I had been out in October, November timeframe, and know that it is between 60 and 70 degrees. And if you start, early enough in the morning, you can get a good portion of what you need to run out of the way.
Sure.
And there's cooling mechanisms you can use. So I wasn't too terribly concerned. I think what it would have changed is maybe my start time in the day. I would have started even earlier in the morning. That would get me through the rim. And then heat of the day, I'd be up where crew could go get water and come back.
Okay.
Good.
Did you go clockwise or counterclockwise?
I went counterclockwise.
Does it make a difference? Can you go either direction?
You can go either direction. And that was a little baffling to me, that like when you submit the FKT, they didn't have like clockwise or counterclockwise.
Okay.
But the route that I chose drops, like the first descent is a lot steeper than if you were to go clockwise and go down Schaefer. So going down Mineral Bottom Road is a lot steeper, I guess.
Okay.
And so you're really climbing uphill for 70 miles.
Okay.
So when other people have done it and have done clockwise, they're slowly dropping down Schaefer and going downhill, and then they have to go straight up Mineral Bottom and go up a really steep climb the other way. So to me, at least for me, it didn't make sense to gradually go downhill all day, make a 3,000-foot climb in less than 2 miles, and then run up a road, like run uphill on road. I would have dropped 3,000 feet and ran uphill on like a 1% grade all day and felt great. So that's at least what I chose to do. Apparently people have said it's the harder way to go when I talk to bikers, but I felt it didn't feel hard to me, at least until mile 80.
That's when it all falls apart.
Everything feels hard.
Did you know that this was going to be an FKT attempt from the beginning, or okay, so this is what you were planning on from the start?
Yeah.
Okay, like how and why, and why not just go for a 100-mile run? Why did you want to do it faster than anybody else?
Because why not?
Why not? Okay, I like it.
I mean, if you're gonna do something, I'm a fan of like go big or go home.
Okay.
Test your limits. So I had the philosophy in my head of like, I'm gonna try to beat her time and to raise the bar for women out there and try and get like one of the fastest times on their route. And if I blow up miserably while doing so, then that's great. I was still regardless going to finish it because I had kind of made that mental promise to myself that I was going to finish the route no matter what. Like barring injury, bleeding, all that normal stuff, barring needing an ambulance, I was going to finish the route. But I told my crew, like, we're going out and we're going for this as an FKT. Okay. And we're gonna treat it like this is a hard race day.
So with an FKT attempt, some people like reach out to the previous FKT holder and let them know what they're going to do, or they reach out to the FKT website and tell them what they're going to do. Did you do anything like that, or did you just go out there and go bandit and try and run it as fast as possible and then let them know?
I had no way of really reaching out to Jenny Lynn. I found the guy that she ran it with. I talked with him on Instagram because he had run the route. So I asked him a few questions. So he may have like passed along to her, but he never like told me like, hey, you need to mention it to her. There was a few route clarifications that I needed from Fastest Known because one of the guys that did it unsupported did like an alternate route that's on like the mountain bike website.
Okay.
It cuts off like 2 or 3 miles. So I asked them, hey, there's 2 different variations. Which one is the appropriate one? So they helped me clarify with that. And they said, whatever one I choose, regardless, it'd still be considered an FKT route. So, and I chose, so I could have done the route that he did and cut off 2 miles, but I chose to take the standard one that Jenny did because that still sets the precedent that I was going for her time. And if I took the 2 miles off, then that meant that I was taking, at least in my opinion, the easy way out and going for my own FKT. And I wanted to go for her time.
Yeah.
So they knew that I was attempting it. They didn't know when.
Okay.
So they had an inclination. But I had kind of made some posts that here I was going to do this. I was going to go for under 24 hours. Here's the tracking link. So it was all available for you to see and for people to go for. And I know some people aren't always fans of that, but I'm also not a fan of like, it's maybe a good luck thing for me of being like, here's everything I'm planning to, win this or get this. And so I kind of wanted to do it on my terms. And I also didn't want to bandit it and be like, oh, hey, look what I did without anybody knowing. Right. So it did the nice little in the middle.
Okay.
I guess is the best way to put it. So people knew.
People knew.
People knew, but people didn't know like I'm planning to go really hard. And this is my one big goal. They knew that I was planning to go for under 24 hours. Okay.
But you beat 24 hours by a lot. 20 hours and 19 minutes.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. How many crew and pacers did you have out there?
I had 4 total.
4 pacers?
4 pacers, 4 crew, same people.
Okay, got it. So are they like shuttling a vehicle around to meet you at certain spots? Okay, how many aid stations did you have?
I didn't have any aid stations. So they were all in a crew car.
Okay.
The first 30 miles, one of them for safety rode a bike behind me. Just because it was in the dark, female by myself, kind of safety. And to make sure that the crew vehicle up ahead could get through some of like the harder, sandier terrain without me needing any assistance.
Okay.
So she carried extra supplies, or if I needed to drop anything, she was right there, which was nice because it was just nice having that mental there's a presence, I'm safe, I can just keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like that type of thing. So it wasn't really like, I guess, a pace situation. It was just like, I've got a crew vehicle behind me, making sure I'm safe. And then the crew, like 5 miles to navigate terrain, wait, ask if I needed anything. If I needed something, I'd grab it. If not, they'd keep going. So it was kind of like they'd go 4 or 5 miles, check in on me, 4 or 5 miles, check in on me.
Okay.
And that was the full day. They said they never waited longer than 10 minutes for me to arrive.
Were they tracking you somehow?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
They said they could easily see me behind them most of the day.
Okay. But you weren't really stopping though, were you?
No.
No. So that's why you say there's no aid stations. I mean, you had people out there, but you were just hauling, just not stopping, going straight through.
They could set stuff out. So I had like food and stuff that I'd grab, and they would set it out like on like a little mat or bag of all my food. And I'd come through, maybe grab a handful of chips or grab a pickle or swig of pickle juice, grab that and keep walking as I grabbed it. So, I mean, I was in and out of those stops in less than 20 seconds.
Nice. Okay.
So, and then when I did like a pacer switch, so at mile 30, my husband jumped in to pace me for 10 miles. So that was just a little bit longer stop to make sure I had sunscreen, I had food. He jumped in, he took everything off. So I didn't have my pack anymore. I had 1 water bottle on me. So he took all of my nutrition. He took everything from me. So I was able to just run without having any weight.
Okay.
And then he handed that off to the next pacer. And then Kyle, my last pacer, wouldn't let me carry like anything. And he just basically fed me by the clock. So I think that's also what made me move so quickly, is I didn't have to think.
Sure. Yeah. Is that what the last woman did? Did she have other people that were carrying her stuff for her? Do you know?
I have no idea. There's a picture on the FKT website that I think is Jenny. And I think they ran as a group and people came down and met her with stuff. But I don't know logistically what she did.
Sure. Okay.
I figured this logistically was the best way to do it for the smoothest transition of moving. And that would get me the best result that I wanted. I have a friend that has run Leadville several times as well. And she said, if you want to move fast and efficient, you have everybody carry everything. And I've learned that from running Leadville. As soon as that pack comes off of you, it's like you've lost 20 pounds. So as soon as I took that pack off at mile 30, I felt weightless. And I was able to move a lot more efficiently. Okay.
What was your training like for this? I mean, it sounds like this was kind of the A project of the year. So you were really working up to this. Were you doing like speed work and everything working up for this, or what did it look like?
I really didn't start putting a whole lot of like central focus on it until I guess like August. Okay. I signed up earlier in the summer just for, I guess, posterity's sake, to do the Leadville 100K challenge, just to get that vert in for fun. They did that 100K of vert buckle challenge. So I signed up to do that.
Oh, the virtual?
So I did that, did a lot of climbing in my midweek in the middle of the summer. So it was a lot of like base work leading in the summer. And then we started working on some long speed days kind of mid-August into actual, I guess, go day. And I think that really made a difference, was having those uphill legs that could just chug. So it wasn't a whole bunch of speed work. It was just building efficiency.
Is that pretty typical for you? Is that normally what you do when you have a race coming up?
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't really do much different. Okay.
Just they're putting in the miles, getting a little bit on similar terrain. So I run sometimes in Bear Creek Lake Park, and it's got some sandy areas in it. So I made sure to get out in some of that sandy stuff. Or there's a few back roads I know up in, Idaho Springs or like the Georgetown area. So I made sure to go up to those that had just like a slight incline, and practice running uphill and practice running downhill. Just practice working on some turnover, even on my easy days of just shuffling when I don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really helped. And even with my long days, I think that was really beneficial.
Was the sand really a problem? I mean, were you getting sand in your shoes? Were you wearing gaiters, or was it a non-issue?
I didn't think the sand was really a problem. It was really, I got mud in my shoes because I fell into a mud puddle. But I was wearing gaiters for the first half, well, the first 60 miles. And then I switched shoes and I couldn't get the gaiters off of the other shoes. So we just left them attached.
Okay.
But I didn't think the sand was a problem. I didn't feel like it was. I think more so when the sand was mud, it became a problem because I have a few blisters on one foot from where the mud kind of attached to a sock and caused some issues. But I didn't feel like that it was as sandy as a lot of people had said it was going to be. Because I kept asking people like, how sandy is it? Am I going to need more traction, less traction? A lot of people said it was a sand pit, but I got there and I kind of was like, what sand?
Okay.
So I really think that snowstorm really made a difference. So I think that aided me quite a bit in the speed, because had it not snowed, I think I would have been in a lot deeper sand in the first 30 miles for sure.
Okay. The universe was on your side. It was
I guess
it was meant to happen.
that, or I could have just like poured a water bottle in front of me as I ran and been like, all right, run through something.
Water is scarce out there. You don't want to do that. What were you eating and drinking? Just like typical running food? Do you have anything special?
I stuck to spring and Huma gels as that. And then I had honey stinger waffles. I will admit, like, the mini waffles go down a lot easier than the big waffles.
Oh, okay.
Ones were a lot easier to get down because they're snack size. But those are kind of what I was sticking to, like, as my on-the-go fuel. And then going into aid stations, I was drinking pickle juice, eating bananas, Ruffles chips, and Frito.
Okay.
So
a lot of calories in those Fritos.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Awesome. What did your dad think of all this? I'm sure he kind of knew what was coming up. Were you sharing your training and everything with him? And like, how close are you to him? What's that relationship like?
He was really excited about it. My dad and I are really close. I'm really close with both of my parents. But my dad's being somebody that was like an avid cyclist, who he kind of got me into endurance sports. Like, he asked about training. He loved hearing about it. We do some Friday mornings. We call them trike rides. I'll run next to him as he rides his trike. So we talk about, what was coming up, what my pacing strategy was. So he knew all of that. He and my mom tracked all day until I finished.
Oh, wow.
So they were tracking like every 20 minutes till I finished. So he was super excited. I'm very close with him. He's one of my best friends and he's my hero. So.
Wow. But they weren't out there for it though, were they?
No, they weren't. It's navigational wise for him. And especially with the heat, it'd be hard for him to get out there, especially with his wheelchair and just his mobility. It'd just be hard for him, and him sitting in a car that's bumpy all day is probably not the best.
Yeah.
But they watched from afar and they loved it.
Cool. What gave you the idea to dedicate every 10 miles to a different person with MS? Isn't that what you did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out a way to incorporate some of the people that I know who have MS with the relay, as well as kind of break up the mileage for me. And I thought, what a cool way would it be to kind of take some people along with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm quickly plug in my phone. I thought that would be a really cool way would be to dedicate those miles and kind of take them along the journey. Let's see if this works. Aha, we'll turn it this way. Sorry. I had to plug in my phone.
You're good.
But to dedicate those miles to people.
Okay.
So I kind of thumbed through some of the people I knew. And I had kind of, when I ran the relay, dedicated each day to a different like feeling or what each day kind of represented for me. And I thought it'd just be kind of that same way to help me get through those miles. So that's kind of how that came about for me.
So did you reach out to these people beforehand and let them know what you were going to do?
Yep, I reached out to each person beforehand, let them know that I was dedicating miles. I asked a few of them for little snippets about them, or if I already knew the information, kind of just wrote a little snippet about them and a little bit of their story, and how it just kind of really embraced, a life with MS and also overcoming maybe a struggle with MS. And I also liked it because it was very telling of also a little bit of a 100-mile journey. Each part of their story, at least to me, symbolized some part of MS.
Yeah. And these were all friends of yours?
They're all people that I know through the relay, or they were people, they may be a loved one of my friends. So I know that one of my best friend's grandmother is the one that has MS, or one of the relay runners his brother is MS. So, we're all connected. It's like the Kevin Bacon 7 degrees of separation. Mm-hmm. MS is usually like 4 degrees of separation. There's okay. Somebody, if you're in a group of 4 people, they probably know somebody with MS.
Does that create like a bond between you and them? Did they feel like it was really special, or how did most people react to that?
Most people felt like it was, a lot of people really felt like it was special. It was a nice tribute, not just to them, but a tribute to the cause and a tribute to bringing awareness. Mm-hmm. Sharing a little bit of that story brought just a little bit more light to, the cause. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And hopefully just a little bit more to, that wave that we're trying to make with MS.
Mm-hmm. So are you just like mentally thinking about them while you're out there every 10 miles, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I actually really was. It was kind of nice because I wasn't checking off the miles. I was taking the people with me. So the first 10 miles were for a lady named Jill, and Jill was the mother of the founder of the relay, and Jill passed away, but it was cool to take Jill with me because she was the start of all of this. She was the reason. So it was fun to take her on the start of the journey, and it was very peaceful. And, I got to check off 10 miles with Jill, and then the next 10 miles were for, everyone else in the world that has MS, and I got to take them with me. And then, it just kind of kept snowballing that each 10 miles, I got to take someone new with me. It was like having another pacer with me. And so I wasn't checking off, oh man, I'm 40 miles in. It was like, oh great, I get a run for John right now. And then I got to soak up all those memories that I could tell and share about running with John.
It's like their spirit is with you.
Yeah, and then I got to like mile 90, and my pacer said we're at 90, and that was the miles for Dad. And my pace kicked up, and it was still really hard, and it was still really tough, but I knew his happiness and his determination was what was making me go into a well that I hadn't gone before. And, I knew I had time that I could have walked those 10 miles in, but because of his determination and his drive to just be such a happy person, I wasn't going to let that go. He knew he would want me to fight for it. So I took him with me and I fought for it. So it was really cool to be able to take them with me on each little journey.
Did your dad know that you were dedicating the last 10 miles to him? Yeah.
He did.
What happens if you only make it 80 miles?
That wasn't going to happen.
That wasn't going to happen. Wow.
That's why I put him the last 10.
Okay. That's inspiring. So you have to finish.
Yep. Have to finish.
Can you name all 10 people?
Off the top of my head, probably not, but I can name most of them. I have them listed out.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
So the first 10 miles were for Jill Cumlin. She lost her fight to MS.
How long ago?
I want to say 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
Miles 10 through 20 were for all those living with multiple sclerosis and those who may not know it yet. The next 20 to 30 miles are for Hannah Minicello. She was diagnosed with MS when she was 14. Miles 30 through 40 were for John Franco, who was diagnosed in 2017 or 2016, I believe. Miles 40 through 50 were for John Platt. Miles 50, well, and John Platt's story is amazing. He used to only be able to walk with a cane, and his doctor said he'd never be able to walk without one again. And he basically said, screw that. And he tried to start running again, and he's run the Boston Marathon, the New York Marathon, the Chicago Marathon. And every time he runs a marathon, he goes blind because of his MS.
Whoa.
He runs with a guide.
Wow.
And he truly is perseverance, and he truly is, that why not spirit. So
what's his name again?
John Platt.
That's inspiring. That's crazy.
Wow. And such a wonderful, wonderful motivator.
Wow.
The next miles were for a friend's mother. Just call her Miss McDonald. Miles 50 through 60. Miles 60 through 70 were for Pat Sorensen, who lost her battle with MS in 2016. Miles 70 through 80 were for Bobby Allred, who has a form of MS called primary progressive, which has no main medications for it. So his MS progresses pretty quickly. And he's also a lot like my dad in the way that he's positive and upbeat and happy and just takes everything with strife. Miles 80 through 90 were for my best friend's grandmother, Betty. Betty lost her husband to cancer 2 years ago and neglected a lot of her MS needs. So those miles were for Betty's selfishness. And so gonna run for Betty. And then the last 10 were for Dad.
Wow. Incredible. Like, how could you not finish a journey like that? I mean, you've got so much behind you. You're running with the spirit of these beautiful people that are struggling so much harder than you, even though you're out there running 100 miles. I mean, it makes what you're doing seem almost easy. What has your dad taught you through all of this? Like you said that he just remains really positive, and that in itself is a big inspiration. It's just inspiring to me just to hear that. But like, what have you learned throughout this journey, specifically from your dad?
You can't give up. I think that's a big one. Like, you just because you're told that you may have one thing like MS or that, something's going to happen, you can't give up, and you can adapt. You can create a new 100% for yourself, and to always give 100% of that into wherever you're going. So if, you have MS, give 100% of what that 100% is, and to never take what you have for granted, because we definitely don't. Yeah.
Do you talk to him every day?
Mainly, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
A lot.
Yeah. Wow. What was you guys' conversation like after this was over? Did you and him celebrate, or what was that like?
He was really excited. The first thing he said was, "Your tracking worked."
Typical parent thing to say.
Yeah, I'm so excited that my Garmin worked.
Okay.
We were trying to figure that out. My parents live like 25 minutes away from me, so I see him quite a bit.
Cool.
But he was excited about that. He asked how I was feeling. He said he was very proud. He asked if I could sleep at all, and I told him no, because I haven't really, my sleep has just been shot. Just talked about normal recovery stuff, if I was eating, all of that stuff. And he was just very excited that I finished and that he was proud of me. But it still was funny that he basically said the Garmin worked. We were tracking you all day. And I was like, okay, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds exactly like something my parents would say, but yeah, it's a very parent thing to say, I guess, when they don't really know what the hell you're doing out there.
Well, he knew what I was doing. He's been at Leadville both times, and like, he knows exactly he's bike raced several big bike races that are hundreds of miles long. So he's used to stuff like that. But I just love that he was like, your tracking worked. And I was like, and it hasn't before.
What kind of cycling did he do in the past?
He mainly did road bikes.
Okay. All long distance stuff? Okay. Multi-day stuff, 1 day stuff. What was he up to?
Mainly like century rides or like 200-mile races.
Okay. That's cool. It's pretty similar to my dad. And that's kind of how I got into endurance sports. As a kid, I remember watching my dad, doing these bike races, and I was handing off bottles to him. And, as a kid, you're just like, that is really cool. And it just eventually got me into biking and running. And so it sounds pretty similar.
I was always put in the buggy, and Dad would go for a bike ride. I was in the buggy, and then I was put on the bike and Dad went for a bike ride. I rode the bike next to him for a little bit, and then he'd continue on. And, that was just the way growing up was. And then he and I do longer bike rides together. And
so cool. How did you celebrate when you crossed the quote unquote finish line? Like, what was the end of that like? Did you just collapse?
I made the finish line a cattle grate, because I was not going to cross a cattle grade at like mile 90. Like,
okay.
And there was one that we had a very close call with. So my pacer, Kyle Patari, like, there was one cattle grade on the road, and I was really struggling to take big steps, and they're wide, and I've got small feet, and I was like, ooh, there's concrete on the side. So I thought I'd take the concrete, and I took a big step, and thank God I missed it, but I almost stepped directly on barbed wire. And he thought it was like the scariest thing to him. And he's like, you navigated that like a champ. And so that's the reason I made a cattle grate my start and finish line, because I was not going to do that at like mile 98. But yeah, I like tapped the cattle grate, and then I laid down on the ground. And it was my celebration of like, we're done.
Wow. Were you pretty wrecked at the end?
I was very wrecked. I did not eat from mile like 85 until the finish. I just couldn't eat food. So I had nothing in my system. I was only sipping water or broth. So my body was just running on pure adrenaline and fumes and stores. So I had nothing in me.
Your stomach was just not accepting food, or?
I think part of it was that I had been running so hard that the blood wasn't going to my stomach to process the food. So I was having such a hard time eating. And Kyle was doing such a great job of feeding me like every 20 minutes that he had built up like what he called a nice calorie bank. So I had food to like fuel to draw on when I needed it. But we just couldn't get any more fuel in. I just started feeling extremely full. Anytime we put stuff in, I'd spit it back out or spit it up. So we just gave up on trying to eat. A few hacking moments. So we just stuck to water, stuck to broth, and that seemed to really kind of quell the nausea. It wasn't bad nausea. It was just, if I was walking, I got dizzy. But if I was running, I wasn't dizzy. So but yeah, I think it was just blood flow issues.
Yeah. I've been there. I've definitely been there. So you cross the finish line, and then you just kind of lay down, and are you able to eat? When do you sleep? What does that look like?
I did not eat until the next morning at like 8.
Okay. What time did you finish?
I finished at like 12:30.
Okay.
12:35.
What time did you start? I forgot to ask that.
4.
Oh, you started at 4 a.m.
in the morning.
Okay. And then you didn't eat till the next morning. Okay. Because your stomach was just messed
Mm-mm.
up.
I had no appetite.
Yeah.
It's still a little bit of a process. Like I have my moments of like, I'm super starving. And then I have moments of, I don't want any food still. So
yeah.
did a number there. I could not sleep. We were camping. So that also was fun. Don't recommend trying to lay down on a sleeping pad in a sleeping bag when you're unwashed and sleep because you smell homeless and you're nauseous and your feet hurt and your hips hurt. And I just laid there and my husband's laying next to me, passed out. And it's like, I'm just going to wake him because I have to move every 20 seconds and I smell homeless. And I'm nauseous. And what if I have to vomit? I don't want to vomit. Like everything's running through my head. So I grabbed the car, like the keys to our car, and I just sat in our car and like put the seat back and just tried to sleep. And I don't think I've had a full night's sleep yet.
Really?
But my coach says that's actually kind of normal, mainly because I pushed myself into that well of like no food for so long that I kind of shot my nervous system for a little bit. He said it'll happen. He said it's also been a stressful week for everybody.
True.
So he said, he's like, if you wake up at 2 a.m. and you can't go back to bed, he's like, it's fine. Go do something.
Yeah.
He said sleep will come. I'm fully expecting this weekend that like I will go to bed at like 7:00 at night and not wake up till like 11.
That's perfectly acceptable.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have any recovery secrets or anything special that you do?
I eat a lot of food. I try to.
Yes.
And it's usually not like the best food. Like legit, my friends just sent me like a box of donuts.
Sweet.
So I've eaten 2 of those so far.
Okay.
It's just eating as much as you can, drinking a lot of water. If you're tired, not while you're working, but if you're tired, since I work from client to client, I can take breaks. Like between my client breaks, I've been napping if I'm tired or just laying down. Moving a little bit. I didn't force movement on Monday because I was super stiff. I actually put my feet up instead, but go for a walk here and there. Not run the first week at all.
Good.
I might go for a hike or a bike ride this weekend, but you're not gonna gain anything by trying to go for a run like 3 days after 100. So why bother?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, those are really all my secrets. Main one is like stay hydrated, sleep, just mentally relax too.
Yep, for sure. So you dedicated this whole thing to, MS awareness, MS research. Like in a perfect world, like, what would you like to see?
In a perfect world, I'd like there to be a cure. I'd like to see a cure for MS. That would be the ultimate goal.
Is that possible? I mean, there's no cure right now. Is there any positive outlooks on that?
I think there is.
Okay.
I think if we keep moving in that direction, I think with MS, there's so many unknown variables. If we look at, there's three types. I always forget one. There's relapsing, remitting, primary progressive, and I always forget the other one. But there's like 3 different types of it. And then everybody's symptoms are different. And, there's so many variables with it that it's like trying to capture a unicorn, the best way to put it, right? But I think if we're given funding to try and work on those tools and figure out how it does happen, then we can figure out if there is a way to actually cure it or halt any of the damage. There's disease altering drugs that slow it, but there's nothing that stops it. I mean, we can't undo the damage that MS has done. I don't think that'll ever be done in my lifetime, but I mean, I think there's possibilities for it to be you find out you have MS and there could be medications to just stop the progress altogether. I think there is a future where that is possible. I think there is a future where a cure is possible.
For sure.
And I hope that's in my lifetime. I hope it's in my dad's lifetime.
Yeah, no doubt. Where can people donate?
People can donate to msroundtheus.com. There is a donate button on their main page.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll try and get the word out as best we can. Yeah, absolutely. What's next for you?
I don't have anything planned the rest of the year. Just kind of chill, relax, enjoy easy miles. Just kind of take it easy.
Good.
Take a good mental plan and stuff.
Nice. And you got High Lonesome next year?
Yep, got the High Lonesome.
Anything
that'll
else?
be a fun project to work.
Or is that going to be the A race?
Not right now.
Okay.
That might be it. Maybe find another fun project similar to White Rim if that looks like it's feasible. But for now, High Lonesome looks like it'll be the big one.
Yeah. Did you enjoy this like self-curated event more than a race, or do you enjoy races?
I really enjoy doing this project. One of my pacers asked if I liked this atmosphere better than a race, and I actually kind of did, because I wasn't fighting anybody at an aid station. There wasn't like the chaos and the stress of an aid station, or like waiting on your crew or hoping your crew was there. And I felt like it ran a lot more smoother than a race, because it wasn't, you didn't have all those extra variables in there.
Yeah.
It was just you alone. You're racing yourself, you're racing a clock, and you're just out there. And it's kind of, there was actually less pressure.
Yeah.
There's less pressure of time cutoffs. There's less pressure of someone's going to elbow you or trip you on the trail. There's, all that other pressure has just been taken off, and you're just out there to go run, do you, take care of yourself. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
I was chasing a ghost all day. I was chasing a time that was, and that was it.
Yeah.
And chasing a person in front of me, which was kind of fun.
And this is the fastest you've ever run 100, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I looked at your ultra sign up before this, and you've done Leadville a couple times. Your times were pretty similar to my time. So, how much vertical was in this, the White Rim Road?
I want to say 8,000.
Okay. So a little bit. Does it feel like it's rolling the whole time?
Yeah, it's just rolling. They've got a few climbs, but as far as I could tell, based on what Strava pulled up, it's between like 8 to 9.
Okay. It's stout. It's legit.
Yeah, it was definitely not easy.
So now that you've run 100 miles faster than you ever have before, like, do you want to beat that time further down the road, or like what are your thoughts?
I think I can break 20 hours.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Given the right day, the right circumstances, the right race.
I think even within like what I did out there, like there's a few places where I probably could have cut off 20 minutes.
For sure. Would you ever go back and try and better your time?
Maybe, but for right now, I'm extremely pleased with what I did.
Yeah, 100%. You should be. Yeah.
I think if I started at the bottom of Schaefer and did it from the bottom of Schaefer up and around, I could, it's different start point.
Yeah.
You could, but I'm extremely happy with the bar set. And, there's kind of like the why go back now, unless I really feel a pull to go back to it. But
yeah.
There's other fun things out there.
For sure. Yeah. Well, what a cool adventure, Kaitlyn. I mean, so cool. And what you did was really cool. I mean, you're just a beautiful soul, kind of like dedicating this to all those different people. And yeah, it's not only a cool adventure, it's honorable, what you did. It's something to be proud of. And yeah, just what else can you say? It's just really cool. So, I mean, doing these things are sort of a selfish journey, but you were able to get outside yourself and sort of dedicate this to other people. So, yeah, very, very cool. Do you have shout outs that you'd like to give to anybody who helped you out along the way here?
Oh, Yeah, I guess first and foremost, my crew and pacers, mainly my husband, Brandon Yonke, um, the second brainchild of the project who kind of pushed me to do it.
Cool.
Other pacer, Josh Miller, for letting us use his vehicle.
Yes, our mutual
And just
buddy.
being like, yeah, and just being like stoked beyond belief about it.
Cool.
Another pacer and my bike crew, Lexi Miller, who the week before set the women's rim to rim alternate FKT, and she still was willing to come out and be all in. So it's just, that was really cool. And then Kyle Pitari, who paced like 50 miles with me, and just kept me steady as a rock those last 50 miles.
Yeah.
So those four guys, the Adrenaline Project, that is the team that I run for, those guys for their, unwavering support, and everything that they do to help keep us running and all that. Let's see here. Kelly with RAD, Real Athlete Diets. She definitely, she helped us with some food since we definitely did not have time to cook on our own. That was just, it was super amazing to have her out there, or have her give us some food to help us out, keep us fueled. I'm trying to think. Anybody that donated, just people that supported that by sending in a donation to the relay, into MS Run the US. Like that support, any messages that you guys sent to Brandon or my crew along the way. I think that was some of the biggest support I could have ever asked for, because that kept me moving. Even though I couldn't see it, it was there, it was felt, it was seen. So
Those really help. Those really help along the way.
I had a friend make a sign, and she sent the pictures to Brandon, and Brandon showed me as I was climbing the last big climb. So I was able to see the pictures. I mean, and not having my phone on me all day and not getting all those messages. I mean, I had no signal, so thank goodness. But I could feel the support, and that was nice. And, knowing that people were out there really pulling for the cause was definitely a big part of that. Cool. So, I mean, those are my major shout outs.
Very cool. To your dad, would you say anything to your dad? I know you'd probably talk to him every day.
I tell him just thank you for everything, teaching me everything.
Yeah.
How to love the sport, how to believe in yourself.
Yeah. Yep. That's what it's all about. Cool.
Just believe.
So cool, Kaitlyn. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it sounds like an amazing adventure, and we'll keep an eye on you and see what's in the future, and hopefully talk again. Yeah.
Yes. So much.
Doing what you're doing. Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see you.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. Bye.
Bye.